Before starting of the cost sheet pro forma, I want everyone to know cost sheet is always prepared for production quantity. Am I correct or not? I will prepare cost sheet only for production quantity. What is cost sheet? It is a statement where you are going to capture all the expenses relating to the production activity. So cost sheet can be prepared for 1 month, 1 year. So I'm going to write all the expenses relating to my manufacturing in that cost sheet pro forma. And cost sheet is prepared based on absorption costing. Based on absorption costing. See, we know two different categories of methods of costing. One is marginal costing system and the other one is absorption costing system. In case of marginal costing system, each and every expense cost, we'll classify them into two categories, variable and fixed. So that is the reason in our profit statement under marginal costing, you will have sales minus variable cost, all expenses, all variable expenses. Means in factory, if you have variable, I'm going to subtract. In administration expenses, if you have variable, I'm going to subtract. In selling and distribution, I have variable, I'm going to subtract. All variable expenses will be subtracted from your sales revenue at the beginning. After that, you will arrive at contribution. Minus fixed cost, you will arrive at operating profit. When it comes to absorption costing, here costs are classified based on functions. Here, each and every expense will be shown under a specific head. Factory expenses, factory overheads. Both variable and fixed put together, we are going to show total factory expenses in cost sheet. Never we are going to segregate them into variable and fixed. Is it clear? Administration expenses, total. Both variable and fixed put together, I am going to consider under administration overhead head. Clear? Selling and distribution, whether it is a variable or fixed, I am going to consider total. I am not going to segregate. Is it clear? So costs are classified based on functions here. When it comes to marginal costing, based on nature or behavior. If the expense is reacting to production activity, variable expenses. If it is not reacting, fixed expenses. Is it clear? Right. So based on absorption costing. And all expenses relating to manufacturing production quantity only I am going to capture in this statement. Is it clear? Right. So it starts with how you are going to capture each and every expense. I'm going to start element by element. The first element is material, right? So I will start my cost sheet with material. Two columns. Particulars. Amount in rupees. Opening stock of raw material. See, this can be for 1 month or opening stock of a quarter or opening stock of a year. Opening stock of raw material plus raw material purchases. Raw material purchases during the period. That period can be 1 month, 6 months or 1 year. Raw material purchases I am adding minus closing stock of raw material. Minus closing stock of raw material. That will give you raw material consumed for production or consumed for the year. So you will get raw material consumed. Any doubts? Now, can someone explain this 4 lines? Explain this 4 lines equation. What you are trying to find out from these 4 lines? How much quantity or how much raw material consumption cost used for your production activity, right? Okay. Opening stock of raw material. See, my intention is to consider the expenses incurred for production activity. As mine is the running business, I have my stores department. I have opening stock carry forward from the previous period. I have opening stock of raw material. And in the current period, again, New raw material purchase. New raw material purchase. After purchasing of raw material, where you are going to send that purchases? Where you are going to send that raw material? Stores department. Raw material purchases you will send to production. You will send to stores. Whenever production department raises purchase material requisition, then stores department is going to issue. Never we are going to send directly our purchases to production department. Is it clear? We have various departments in between. Clear? So you will send the raw material purchases to stores department. Already you have opening stock there, right? Right? So say for suppose opening stock of raw material is some 50,000 kgs. How many kgs? Or 50,000 rupees, let it be. Clear? Our discussion is about raw material consumption. Forgot about quantity or rupees. Raw material, opening stock of raw material is some 50,000 rupees. Now newly purchased in the current period is some 1 lakh rupee. So you send the raw material 1 lakh to the same stores department. Now I have 50 plus 1 lakh put together 1,50,000 is the raw material available. Raw material available for production. If production department raises material requisition, then you are going to issue, right? Okay. Now at the end of the month or at the end of the period, all of a sudden your 1,50,000 it became 80,000. It became 80,000. 1,50,000 became 80,000. So what about that reduction part? What happened to that material quantity? Maybe you have issued for production. Maybe production activity consumed our raw material, right? So 1,50,000 minus whatever the closing stock left in the period, you need to subtract to find out the exact raw material consumption went into production. Is it clear? That is the reason we are subtracting closing stock of raw material to arrive at raw material consumed for production. Is it clear? Right. Now we are exclusively finding out the material cost incurred for production activity. Is it clear? Right. Sometimes, as she is saying, there is no information about opening stock. There is no information about closing stock. No information. See, this kind of language is restricted only to books. Maybe in the question you don't have information, but in reality, what I'm going to say, if it is a new business, they started in this month only. Production activity started in this month only. So they don't have any opening stock. Opening stock is 0. And company's policy, they don't want to maintain any closing stock of material. Opening stock of material is 0, closing stock of material is 0. Then whatever the material you purchased, entire material you consumed for production. Entire material you consumed for, say for suppose, if opening stock is 0 and closing stock is also 0, can I say the same number is going to repeat here as raw material consumed? In such a case, can I say purchase is equal to consumption? Because if you purchase 1 lakh, at the end of the period it is 0, means entire 1 lakh consumed for production. Is it clear? Right. So if opening stock is 0, closing stock is 0, purchase is equal to consumption. When both are zeros, why to write all the 4 lines for raw material consumption? In such a case, I'm going to say my purchases are directly went into production. I have used for entire for production activity without leaving a single quantity as closing stock. So in such a case, when entire purchases you can traceable in your manufacturing activity, instead of 4 lines, sometimes I can replace it with direct material. My cost sheet starts like direct material. In the place of 4 lines, I'm going to write direct material. If you have only 1 line, only purchases, how you are going to write raw material purchases, or as you are using for completely for production, you want to write raw material consumption? It will be difficult, right? Actually, 1 lakh is your purchases, and you consume the same 1 lakh for production. So you don't know what to write, whether to write raw material purchases or raw material consumption. So that is the reason what they will do. Entire 1 lakh is used for production. Let us write it as direct material. So direct material means which can be traceable in your production activity. That's what I'm saying, right? 1 lakh is traceable in your production activity. You can write in a single line direct material as your first line of cost sheet. Is it clear? So either these 4 lines, or you can write direct material direct material instead of these 4 lines. Is it clear? See, for the sake of problematic aspect, I may say other combinations also. If opening stock is 50,000, closing stock is also 50,000. 150,000 you are adding, 150,000 you are subtracting, plus minus, it will get cancelled and you will have the same purchase as consumption. See, maybe numbers are repeating, same numbers, but still you have to write as per the pro forma, you have to write everything. You have to write plus 50,000, you have to write minus 50,000. Sir, as the numbers are matching, I will assume if both numbers are same, purchase equal to consumption. See, there is not an equation, there is not a logic. As numbers are same and they are in the opposite signs, they will get cancelled and impact is 0. But you have to write all the 4 lines, show your plus 50,000, minus 50,000, show all the 4 lines, purchase equal to consumption. Clear? Right. So we complete with our first element of cost. Next element, after direct material, what is our next one, sir? Direct wages or labor. After direct labor, so what are the items which comes under direct labor? You know, only wages, huh? For your entire complete cmainter, you learned only wages. Then direct labor includes question is for complete. Direct labor includes basic wages, bonus, some overtime premium, some incentives, right? If any employer contribution, right? If employee is contributing, it is an outflow from the manufacturing concern, right? So labor cost, right? Am I correct or not? So labor chapter is from manufacturer perspective, cost, not from worker perspective. For worker, it is earnings. Cost per manufacturing concern, right? So employer's contribution to PF, ESI, or if employee is paying any incentives and all, he is paying any allowances, basic wages, overtime premium, bonus, basic wage. Clear? Right. Everything includes in that direct labor. Then coming to direct expenses. Direct expenses. There is inwards to direct expenses. The transportation. What is transportation related to material? You have to add to purchase cost. Material purchase. Is it clear? If any other manufacturing related carries and all, it comes under overheads. Direct expenses. Royalty, patent. If you are paying any patent to some other company without making the payment, you are not going to get the NOC. You can't start your production activity. So payment of those expenses are directly linked to your production activity. So it is a direct in nature. Those expenses comes under direct expenses. Is it clear? So you can see all directs involved, so which can be directly traceable to your production activity, and all these directs put together are known as prime cost. After prime cost, factory, good. Add factory overheads. Add factory overheads. That gives you gross factory cost. Gross factory cost. You can use factory overhead, works overhead, manufacturing overhead, sometimes production overhead also, right? In our non-integrated accounting chapter, they are using production overhead also, right? So if you are using factory overhead, gross factory cost. If you are using manufacturing, gross manufacturing. So as per the term, what you are adding overhead, So based on that, please mention the title as gross factory, gross man. Clear? Okay. After gross factory cost, opening stock of work in progress. Good. Uh, Minus closing stock of WIP. Yeah. Very good. Minus closing stock of work in progress. That gives you net net factory cost. Now, please explain these four lines. Gross, add opening stock of WIP, minus closing stock of WIP, net factory. Why we are adding opening and why we are subtracting closing? That, opening WIP is already. So that is the reason you are adding. Wrong. Why we are adding opening stock? Okay. Stock some semi or at the end of the period, some semi finish at the beginning of the period is fine. So what you are going to get by making that adjustment? Cost of conversion of raw material. Will can anyone add something what she is saying? The work in anyone point to be explained in a precise way so that everyone can understand in an instant. Get understand every. Yeah. You want to add something to their explanation? Everywhere we are going to add opening and subtract closing. That will also we are going to do the same. That's the point is why we are making that adjustment. Why we are making adjustment. We see, say for suppose July month, we have some 5,000 units, incompleted units, sir. 5,000 units, closing work in progress, completed to the extent of 70%. Can I say 30% work is pending? But by that time, books of accounts you closed and it is like 31st July and 5,000 units completed only to the extent of 70%. Now, August month, again you're starting your production activity. Obviously, you're going to work on those 5,000 units first. Along with that, you are introducing 15,000 units. You are planning to produce 15,000 units. 15,000 units newly introduced into a manufacturing activity. Now, on 31st August, finished goods completed 14,000 units. You know what you mean by finished goods, right? Finished goods means completed to the extent of 100% in every aspect. Material 100, labor 100, overhead 100, right? Okay. Now finished goods 14,000 units. Now here closing work in progress 6,000 units completed to the extent of 60. Completed to the extent of 50%. As I told you, cost sheet is prepared only for production quantity. Production quantity means goods produced, finished goods. I am going to prepare my cost sheet for how many units? Only for completed units, 14,000 units. Only for completed units, 14,000 units, right? Now, in this 14,000 units, can I say I will have 5,000 from last year closing, means for August month it is opening, right? I'm going to work on those 5,000 units first, followed by you have introduced 15,000 units newly, right? Newly introduced 15,000, right? In this 15,000, 9,000 units completed. 9,000 units completed. So out of that 15, if you subtract 9, balance 6,000 units is left as closing stock of WIP for August month. Is it clear? Is it clear? We have seen similar kind of calculations in our process costing. FIFO method, weighted average method. So this is my opening WIP, newly introduced 15, 5 plus 15, totally 20,000 units are in process. Out of that 14,000 units completed, 6,000 units in closing stock of WIP. Is it clear? Right. Now, as I want to prepare cost sheet only for production quantity, finished goods, I want to include only cost of 14,000 units cost. Cost of 14,000 units cost. Now, I started my August month cost sheet. I have considered raw material consumed. Raw material consumed during August month. Labor expense incurred in August month. Overhead incurred in August month. Means these expenses, this factory overhead, this gross factory cost, this includes your 5,000 units closing stock. I mean, closing stock of last period, opening stock of this period. This 5,000 units balance percentage of completion is 30%, right? Already 70% complete in the previous period. Now it came to August month with balance 30%. So the 30% cost is being incurred in August month. Is it clear? And you want to prepare cost sheet of fully completed units, which is nothing but 14,000 units. 14,000. In this 14,000 units, you have 5,000 units, right? You have 5,000 units, right? But in this August month, you have incurred only 30% of that 5,000 units cost. Balance 70% you incurred in July month. If you want to find out 100% cost of that 5,000 units, you need to add 70% cost of previous period to this cost sheet. Am I correct or not? That is the reason I'm adding opening stock of WAP. Opening stock of WAP. And in the same August month, I thought of completing more number of units. I incurred certain expenses for manufacturing those units also. But on the date of 31st August, I have 6,000 units incompleted units. Means those 6,000 units, 60% cost is also incurred in the same August month. But I want to calculate cost only for finished goods. I am preparing cost sheet only for finished goods. As 6,000 units, 60% completion is not finished. So I'm subtracting that 6,000 units, 60% cost. Is it clear? So I can clearly say in this 14,000, 9,000 100% cost is included, 5,000 balance 30% included. That is the reason I'm adding previous period 70% as opening stock of WIP, and 6,000 units 60% cost is also incurred in this August month. But I want to find out only cost of fully completed units, cost of production quantity. I'm subtracting that 6,000 units 60% cost as closing stock of WIP, so that I will have cost. I will have cost of only production quantity completed units in my cost sheet. Is it clear? Net factory cost. Why I'm calling a previous one as gross? Why it is the net? Yes, this is a factory cost, but I want to find out factory cost incurred for finished goods only. That is the reason net. Is it clear? Can I continue? Right. After this, sir. After that, administration overhead. And remember, and that administration overhead should be production related. That administration overhead should be production related. Then you can add here, and the manufacturing firm is incurring any quality control cost. Any quality control cost. Related to production, right? Like you are going to conduct certain inspection to check the quality of the production activity. So in such a case, it is related to production. If you have such kind of expense, please add here. Here. And if you are incurring any research and development expenses for the sake of improving your production process, so it is to be added to your cost of production, right? If you are incurring any packing cost, and that packing again can be classified into two categories: primary packing, secondary packing. Primary packing means after completion of production, in order to store the finished goods without having any damages before the actual sales made, we are going to have some packing to store in our warehouse itself before the actual sale. Clear? So that the product will not get damaged, right? So that is the reason we are going to have certain packing, primary packing. And you will have one more packing called secondary packing, and that packing you will do after making sale, and it will be included as selling and distribution overhead. Is it clear? If you have that primary packing, you can add here. And as part of your manufacturing process, any scrap or waste generated, and you can sell that scrap or waste for some negligible value, you are earning some income, very minor income, some less portion of income. Remember, in our cost sheet, all these are expenses, right? Now, whatever the scrap value realized from that waste is income, right? It is very less, right? So to find out the net cost, you have to subtract that income from your cost of production expense, because it is as a result of your manufacturing activity, right? You need to subtract here for cost of production only. Primary packing before cost of production only. Administration or production related before cost of production only. Any research and development expenses incurred for the sake of improvement in production process before cost of production only you have to add here. And any quality control cost. Why this quality control cost? We are undergoing production, right? We are undergoing production, right? We are going to conduct inspection. We are going to check the quality of the product. If the quality is not up to the mark, I need to produce more number of units. I need to produce those units again, right? So this to be added before cost of production only. So quality control cost, any primary packing. Scrap value is from here. Cost of going to have the end of production. Okay. Thing is related to production process. You have to add here. Now after cost of production, sir, next. Very good. Opening stock of finished goods minus closing stock of finished goods. Opening stock of finished goods minus closing stock of finished goods. Cost of goods sold again. Someone please explain these 4 lines from cost of production to cost of goods sold. These 4 lines. Of production, cost of goods. Sir, unless if it is perishable nature, then we'll go with first. I think never we are going to. By the way, FIFO and LIFO is for material issue. If you want to follow FIFO or LIFO method, have some nature of finished goods. The finished goods are of perishable nature. Definitely, I will follow FIFO. Yeah. The finished goods are of perishable nature. Definitely, I'm going to sell first in, first out basis. I'm going to sell last year production. I mean closing stock first. Then I will go for current year production or current period production. Normally for bakery items or agricultural items, so on so. And never directly bring FIFO LIFO methods of finished goods. In our syllabus, you are going to see that FIFO and LIFO for inventory issuance of material. Am I correct or not? In material chapter, you will see FIFO, LIFO, weighted average, simple average, or else replacement method, base stock method, right? For issue of material. Again, FIFO and LIFO in process costing, work in progress valuation. Clear? Which one is to be manufactured first? If it is FIFO, last time closing stock, I need to manufacture first. Then I will go for current year, newly introduced units. Clear? Okay, please. Like previous ramen. We have some opening stock of finished. Last year closing stock is nothing but opening stock of finished for the current period. And newly in this period, we have undergone some production, and that is cost of production. So this is the total of cost of goods available for sale. Available for opening plus cost of production. Both these put together are known as cost of goods available for sale. Out of that, at the end of the period, you have only this much amount of closing stock. Means balance is sold. Balance is cost of goods sold. And these four lines we are using is cost of production plus opening stock of finished minus closing stock of finished equal to cost of goods sold. Here in this cost sheet, everything is rupees, right? Now please subtract that rupees part. If you convert this in terms of units of cost of production, can I say production units instead of cost of opening stock of finished goods? If you remove that cost part, suppose 1000 kgs into 10 rupees, you can say 10,000. If you want units, only 1000. Remove that 10 rupees per kg, right? So in case of second case, I'm removing that cost part. Now cost of opening stock of finished goods will become normal units opening stock of finished goods minus only units of closing stock of finished goods. And never in our pro forma we are going to show cost of opening stock plus. Use it as plus opening stock of finished goods, right? But our intention is it is cost only, right? Right? Are you using cost here? Cost here. You are saying opening stock. You are using cost of opening stock of raw material. But you are going to write 80,000 rupees. Cost only, right? Am I correct or not? Until unless you are calculating kgs, you are calculating closing stock of raw material in terms of only kgs. Always our intention is rupees only. Clear? Now I'm converting this into units. Now cost of goods sold. Can I say sales? Sales units for the same sale quantity. If it is cost of goods sold. Clear? I think this is the equation we have used in our complete budgetary control chapter, right? Am I correct or not? See, from this equation, if you want production, production budget, production equal to, then to right hand side, sales plus closing stock of finished goods minus opening stock of finished goods, right? Nothing but our cost sheet pro forma, right? Okay. So we got cost of goods sold. Now for this cost of goods sold, I'm going to add selling and distribution overhead. any administration overhead, general in nature. Packing cost secondary. Packing cost secondary. Still to participate and you have to say some terms. How to say salesman salary. Without participation, you are not going to get anything in here. Somehow you managed and you complete your cmainter. But coming to CMA final, you have some basics. That too for decision making, for relevant costing, analysis part, and everything. You should have some basics, some logic between these equations at least. Here, please participate. You can say some salesman salary, salesman commission. I don't know why you are giving more importance to writing notes. I'm going to give only 10%, 10% weight for writing notes, 90% for listening to the class, participation, understanding the subject. Is it clear? Nothing you are going to get by writing the complete cost sheet. I think everyone knows this cost sheet. Say for suppose if you are absent also, you can get the same notes from your friends. What's the big deal in writing that notes? Is it clear? Participate. Now tell me after packing cost. Sir, say something completely. Advertisement expenses. Still, I'm going to write as marketing expenses. Advertisement, yeah, newspaper advertisement together and marketing salaries to our driver, distribution of distribution vehicles, right? Okay, fine. Cost of sales. What is the difference between COGS and QoS? Cost of goods sold and cost of sales. Don't say selling and distribution already. Between cost of goods sold and cost of cost of goods sold and cost of sales. Cost of production. Cost of goods sold, cost of sales. Sold, sales. Both expenses are related to sale quantity only. Also you have sales, there also you have sales. The difference is cost of goods sold means still goods are in our warehouse only. Made sale, but yet to dispatch. Yet to dispatch. Now goods are with me, cost of goods sold. Now, in order to reach customer premises from here to there, I need to make certain payments to clear and to reach the stock to customer premises. So, as part of it, I'm making payment of traveling expenses. In between, I have some salesmen. I'm paying the commission. I'm paying the marketing expenses. Finally, when it reaches customer premises, it is cost of sales. Even though sale is made, if it is within our warehouse or godown, it is cost of goods sold. Both are related to sale quantity. The difference is it is within the factory before the selling expenses are included, it is cost of goods. After adding all these expenses and cost of sales is the final number. This is the total cost incurred. The total cost incurred. So this is the last number, right, in our cost sheet, right? So cost of sales is equal to so and so. Now, if you want to find out profit, you need to compare this cost of sales to sales figure. Profit equal to sales minus cost of sales. Clear? Reena, can I proceed? Sir, we are going to start with activity based costing, ABC. Can you start? I think you have this chapter in our cmainter second group, right? Management accounting, right? Okay. Activity based costing. What you have done in your cmainter under ABC system, activity based costing. What you have done in the chapter? Overheads are allocated based on cost drivers. Okay. Cost driver. To say something, say completely. What you have done in that chapter? Still, so you know this is a chapter something related to overheads, right? Okay. This chapter is an extension to overhead chapter. This chapter is an extension to overheads chapter. This chapter is about how you are going to absorb overheads. So this is something related to absorption of overheads. In overhead chapter, we have 6 methods for absorbing overheads. We have 6 methods for absorption of overheads. What are those methods? What are those methods? You can absorb overhead based on time, based on output. Overhead per unit is equal to total overhead divided by units produced. You can absorb overhead based on labor hours. Overhead per labor hour. Total overhead divided by labor hours. You can absorb overhead based on machine hours. Overhead per machine hour is equal to total overhead divided by machine hours. And you can express overhead as a percentage on material cost. As a percentage on direct material cost. Total overhead divided by direct material cost 200. If you remember, total overhead divided by number of units produced. So you will get overhead rate on per unit basis. And in few problems, they ask us to absorb overhead on labor hour basis. Total overhead divided by labor hours, you will get overhead per labor hour. So labor hour rate. It's not wage rate. This is overhead absorption rate. And third one, we know machine hour rate problems, right? So total overheads. So expenses incurred or overhead incurred for operating a machine or running a machine. You used to prepare a statement. At the end, you are going to divide with machine hours, right? You used to get overhead per machine hour, right? So that is our third method. And fourth method, overhead as a percentage on direct material cost. Say for suppose material cost is 1 lakh. Material cost is 1 lakh. Company is absorbing overhead 120% of material cost. 120% on direct material cost. Now what is your overhead? What is your overhead? 120% to be applied on 1 lakh, which is equal to 1,20,000. Right? So how they are expressing the overhead as a percentage on material cost. So you can write 1,20,000 here, 1 lakh here, 1,20,000 by 1 lakh into 100, that will give you 120%. 120%. When we are doing some cost sheet problems, they used to give factory overhead is equal to 80% of prime cost, or administration overhead equal to 80% of cost of production. That is nothing but they are giving some absorption methods. Absorption methods. Is it clear? So this is fourth method. And fifth method, overhead can be expressed as a percentage on direct labor cost, which is equal to total overhead divided by direct labor cost into 100. Same example, direct labor cost equal to 1 lakh and overhead equal to some 150% of direct labor, nothing but overhead equal to 1,50,000, right? And sixth one, overhead as a percentage on prime cost, as a percentage on prime cost equal to total overhead divided by prime cost into 100. Prime cost into 100. That will give you percentage. Here, even though they are mentioning only 6 methods of absorbing overhead, but apart from these 6 methods, we are going to use sometimes as a percentage of factory cost. I don't think that factory cost covered under these 6 methods, but they will give you, right? And they will say administration overhead is equal to, or some selling and distribution overhead equal to some 80% of cost of production. 80% of, we feel like it is an information given in the problem, that is the reason we are calculating, but that calculation is known as absorption. That calculation is known as absorption. How they want to recover their overhead? Absorption, recovery, charge, applied. The meaning of absorption, you can use these four. Clear? Absorption, recovery, charged, applied. So how the firm wants to recover their administration overhead? They want to recover as a percentage on prime cost, as a percentage on factory cost. Is it clear? So these are the 6 methods for absorbing overhead. And remember, these are traditional methods. That's are traditional methods. The traditional methods for absorption of overheads. Is it clear? Now, what they are doing in these traditional methods of absorbing overhead? See, in a factory, you will have two types of departments. One is production departments and the other one is service departments or supporting departments, right? Production departments, you will have production departments and you will have service departments. Service departments S1, S2, S3. Production departments P1, P2, P3. Production departments, they will undergo production. They will undergo production activity. Whereas service department, they will not undergo production, but they will support the production department to undergo their or to complete their manufacturing process, right? Name some service departments. Stores department, purchase department, power supplying department, canteen, right? So for production department workers, canteen people is going to provide all the tea, snacks, lunch and everything, right? But they will not participate directly into the production. But these departments are necessary for the production department to undergo their manufacturing process without any disruption or without any disturbance to their production activity, right? Now these departments, even though these departments, service departments, they will incur their expenses on their own, but they don't have the possibility of recovering the expenses. See, my department, I may incur expenses, but I don't have the possibility of recovering my expenses. Why? Because I'm not undergoing production. I'm not undergoing production. Who is undergoing production? Production department. Even though in my department I have expenses, there is no possibility of recovering, getting back my expenses, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to redistribute my expenses to production departments again, because those are the departments who are undergoing production. There is a possibility of recovering, getting it back. Is it clear? Right? Okay. So first initially production departments, we are going to apportion or allocate the expenses, rent, you based on space or based on area occupied. You are going to right. After that, name some overheads. Name some overheads. After rent, electricity. Okay. Again, you are going to have expenses in some depreciation, some insurance, some power, so on. Right? Now, is the total overhead to be absorbed. So these are the expenses incurred by the respective departments. Now, after knowing these expenses, by the way, you have apportioned the expenses, right? And this apportionment is known as, you know, primary distribution of overheads, or it is nothing but distribution of overheads. Now, after primary distribution, those three departments, S1 and S2, S3, those three departments, they don't have the capability of absorbing the expenses incurred. So what they are going to do, we have some redistribution. First one, you have distributed expenses. Now you are distributing for the second time, redistribution of overheads. And for the redistribution or secondary distribution of overheads, we have certain methods, right? Direct redistribution method, step method, or non-reciprocal method. Or non-reciprocal method. After that, reciprocal methods. Under that reciprocal methods, first one is simultaneous equation method, trial and error method, repeated distribution method. Is it clear? Using those methods, I am going to redistribute service department expenses to production departments. So I gave shares of S1 to P1, P2, P3. Here, here. Now, after redistributing the expenses, now these three departments, they will become 0, nil, nil, nil. Now, these are the total overheads to be absorbed along with their own expenses. Share from S1, share from S2, share from S3 put together. This is the total amount of expense to be absorbed by P1, P2, P3. Now, this is known as secondary distribution of overheads. secondary distribution of overheads. So primary distribution over, now this is secondary distribution. Here, now after secondary distribution, not write itself, don't write total overhead to be absorbed, because after adding secondary distribution, then you can name this one as total overhead to be absorbed. Along with their own expenses, they received share from service departments also. Now for absorbing this overheads, they may use units, labor hours, or machine hours. Now production department 1, say for suppose let this number be 3 lakhs, 5 lakh, 4 lakhs. So this is the total. Now the respective machine hours or labor hours used in the respective departments, 1 lakh per hour, 2,50,000 hours, again 1 lakh, is labor hours only. Again for department to department you may have changed that. If one department is entirely depending on machine hours, they can use machine hours as the absorption rate. Other department, if labor is the main manufacturing activity, labor is being involved, they can absorb based on labor hours. So it doesn't mean we need to maintain uniform method. If they are maintaining uniform method, then it comes under a different methodology. Each and every department they can absorb on their own. So for the sake of example, I don't want to create any complications, so I'm taking labor hours in every case. You may have different methodology, like labor hours one case, machine hours, unit based on units in third case. You can use different methods also. Now overhead per labor hour, so can I say 3 rupees per labor hour here, 2 rupees per labor hour here, and 4 rupees per labor hour here. Is it clear? Right. Now this is the amount of overhead to be absorbed, and this is the absorption rate or recovery rate. Absorption rate or recovery rate when some product X is to be manufactured. Some product X is to be manufactured. Product X is to be manufactured, and that product X, in order to manufacture that product X, they will give you material 100 rupees, labor 3 rupees. Now coming to processing part, this X has to pass through, in order to manufacture this product X, it has to pass through our 3 production departments, P1, P2, P3. And in case of P1, it has to process 10 hours. It has to process 10 hours to complete 1 unit of X. After completing 10 hours of processing, you have to transfer it to second stage P2. There it will process 5 hours. And in P3, it will process for 5 hours. So this is the information what they gave you about product X. Now calculate factory cost for producing product X. Now calculating that factory cost, I need to prepare a simple cost statement showing material cost 100, above the overheads. Under this overhead for P1, how many hours product X is taking? I mean, factory cost for product X. So how many hours it is taking? 10 hours, right? For 1 hour, just now you identified absorption rate or recovery rate. How much? 3 rupees. So for 1 hour, if it is 3 rupees, as it is processing for 10 hours, can I say 30 rupees? P2. How many hours? P3 is also 5 hours, right? Into, go to the rates, 2 rupees and 4 rupees. 10, 20. Put together, 60 is the overhead cost. Is the, so this is what we used to do in our normal overhead chapter. Here we are absorbing overhead based on labor hours. In order to recover the overhead amount and in order to ascertain the cost of product X, overhead we are apportioning on the basis of labor hours. We are absorbing or recovering based on labor hours. And you arrived at 100 plus 50 and overhead 60. Put together, 210 rupees is your factory cost. 210 rupees your factory cost. Now, how you reach this 3 rupees, 2 rupees, 4 rupees? This 3 lakhs divided by 1 lakh hours. This 3 lakhs includes some rental expense, electricity, depreciation, insurance, power, consumable stores, whatnot, every kind of expense. Along with that, some share from service department, and you are absorbing or you are reapportioning the expenses to your client or your customer for manufacturing product X on labor hour basis, which seems to be quite injustifiable and which seems to be not correct. You are not apportioning the expense in a proper way. Now, having this limitation in this traditional system of absorbing overheads, we have a new technique or modern technique. We have a new technique or modern technique, ABC. ABC is a modern technique where it wants to modern technique where it wants to absorb the cost based on activities, based on the manufacturing process involves various activities, right? Manufacturing process involves various activities, right? Right? So, what are those activities? Manufacturing is a broader term. For completion of that manufacturing activity, you have various small activities. All these put together, you are completing your manufacturing, right? In order to use the material or in order to consume the material, you are raising requisitions, right? So you are raising material, right? It is an activity. So based on the number of requisitions, they are issuing the material and you are incurring the cost. Say for suppose in between you are conducting some inspection for raw material or inspection of finished good, whatever it may be, inspection. And inspection is an activity which is driving the inspection expense to be incurred. If you are not conducting any inspection, how you are going to incur inspection cost? Right? Right? If I have 3 departments, one department is taking 5 inspections, other department is taking 3 inspections, other department is taking 2 inspections. Now this expense based on the number of inspections, as you are taking more number of inspections, The total inspection cost incurred by the factory, out of it, 5 proportions related to first department, 3 proportions related to second, and 2 proportions related to third. So based on the resources what you are consuming, overhead is to be apportioned. Overhead is to be apportioned. It cannot be apportioned just like that based on old methods, based on traditional methods. So for everything, for every activity to happen, or for every expense to be incurred, there must be some activity and something which is driving the expense to be incurred. So that language, what we are calling it as cost driver. Clear? Activity means related to incurring of expense, right? Inspection is an activity. It is a work, it is being performed inside the factory, right? Material requisition inside the factory, right? So only because of that activity, we are incurring expense. Clear? So this is what ABC costing, ABC system is saying. Clear? So this is what we are going to focus, and I will continue in our next class. For today, going to end here.